Today's waffle is pretty in pink, and that one's mine. It turned out looking better than James's, although James's, I tried to make it fancier. I put banana with his, but I think mine looks better all the same. So that's strawberry grapefruit.
Really good. It's awesome.
And this is what James is going to be reviewing today. So go ahead, James.
Okay, well, I'm also going to be reviewing David Spade. I didn't review this one yet. Is almost interesting. And yeah, it lives up to advertising. It's almost. But I was laughing a little bit when I was reading.
Yes, he was laughing, and he quoted many parts. Well,
quite a few parts, yeah, exactly.
So he enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it pretty well. Although, you know, like some of the stuff, like this is not like good advertising for. You know, he plays a wimpy complainer. You know, like, and he should be making the transition to being a wimpy. I think he's about 50 now or something like that, or older. Transition to an old complaining guy. You know,
exactly.
I mean, in many ways, that's the role that I play. I'm afraid, but hopefully, I
he's
going to
do such a great job at it.
David Spade.
Yeah, I think you know if he lives long enough, he'll have a better career as an old guy than he did as a young guy.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Now, one of the keys is I think it's funny. Like I always thought he was like core for Saturday Night Live. I'm not a big watcher of Saturday Night Live, but you know, like if I stay up late, I tend to be reading or working on something, but doing research. But apparently, he had a hard time latching on to the show.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
Yeah, and what happened was...
you said Tom Hanks helped him out.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, what happened was he started just this one little thing. He was starting to dish dirt on celebrities and stuff like that, and Lorne, what is his name? Something Lorne. He's a Canadian guy, actually, originally. We just said, "That's you. You know, that's your shtick," something like that. You know, the complaint. You know, like dishing dirt on people, kind of like a. He's kind of like a male Joan Rivers, you know, or a better-looking version of Don Rickles. You know, just doing dirt on people. But you know, I swear he's got to find someone to work with. I don't know why they didn't understand it. And they haven't been following up. So, you know, here's what. This is classic David Spade. I've never seen the movie, Tommy Boy, but you've seen it, right?
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny. And it's classic. Here he is, looking, you know, like really put out. And, of course, he's working with Chris Farley. And here he is. This is one that didn't make it. Apparently, they're going to call it Rocky Road originally. There's Chris Farley doing his thing, acting like a kid. And there's David Spade just looking totally annoyed. So, you know, originally, here's what he would have looked at. Kind of like a preppy whiner, you know. Here he is, you know. With Ray Charles and stuff like that, and here he's probably whining on the Dennis Miller show roughly 30 years ago. See, here he is, you know, looking preppy and you know, whiny with Chris Farley doing his shtick. I think this is Christina Applegate. Is that who this is? She used to be on. What was that?
Wouldn't it say?
I don't know if it says. No, it just says me doing whatever. But she used to be on. What was that?
Married with Children.
Married with Children.
I don't know. I can't tell.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So I don't know why they don't pair him up with some. I mean, he's a classic straight guy. You know, like. Yeah, he advertised himself as a classic straight guy, in the other sense of the word, but.
Yeah, he's like how George Burns and his wife used to work together, and they were great. You know, George Burns was the straight guy.
He was a straight guy then, and when she died, then he became, you know, like he was just making fun of himself, and he became, he was able to do both. But I don't think David Spade's able to do both. But maybe, you know, maybe making fun of himself. It's hard to say. He's kind of making fun of himself. It's almost interesting. But I don't care for him. I probably wouldn't care for him much as a person.
No, I
Because
don't.
he liked
don't want
Chris
him either.
Rock and Dennis Miller's gone over to the dark side. It's easy to with a lot of the craziness that's over on the left side. I mean, absolute, just grueling craziness. But to go over and be like I don't know if Miller's turned into a Trump supporter. I don't know if Chris Rock and David Spade are actually doing that, but I wouldn't be terribly surprised. Another one, Adam Sandler, drooling stupidity.
Sure. I mean, I like watching a few of his movies. You like the
Sandler?
one?
Yeah.
Like I liked Happy Gilmore. I think everyone liked that.
I never saw that one. He's playing a hockey player or something like that.
Not hockey. It's golf. But
golf, but he's doing it like with a hockey stick and stuff like that. But
I don't remember.
I've just seen the
Honestly, I
highlights,
watched it when I was a teenager, and I was really, really stoned. I had this friend that I will not give her name, but she had the best pot. Wow. And she was constantly smoking it. I mean, I don't know how she had the tolerance for it. But
because that sort of
was
thing, you don't
going
build
constantly.
a tolerance because it builds up in your system, right? It's the opposite.
No, but she
Apparently.
she could just keep smoking. It was constant. It was constant. So you go to her place and it's like there's always a joint going. But I could take only like one puff of her marijuana, and I was just out. I was melted into the sofa. So Happy Gilmore was on then, and I laughed so hard. And that's all I really remember was laughing and laughing about Happy Gilmore, but I don't remember.
Well, that's a pretty good advertisement for it. So the next Adam Sandler movie, just don't go to the movie stone. Like don't whatever. Yeah, I like the one where he was with that kid or whatever. I guess he got a kid.
Didn't he put newspapers down or something for this?
Something like that. I mean, there were some funny things. It's funny. David Spade talks about him on Saturday Night Live and being jealous of him. I couldn't stand Adam Sandler on Saturday Night Live. It was awful.
No, he
One of the
would
worst
be a
I've
terrible
ever seen
person.
on Saturday Night Live.
You can tell.
He's skunky like a frat boy. Like a.
Not a nice person, you can tell.
There was before they had frats at the university. They had one group, one club. They called it clubs. That was a typical frat boy. It tended to be pre-engineering students. We didn't have engineering here, and maybe some flunkies going into computer science. Those types, and losers. And they could have been called the Loser Club, but they called themselves something different. But Adam Sandler, now that I think about it, reminded me of them. I don't know if there are too many winners amongst them. A lot of wieners. But so you were talking about being almost like, Adam Sandler. Maybe watch his movies as a space cadet or something like that. Which is my segue to for this thing, don't bother buying it new, and barely. I think you got it totally free.
I got it free from the little library.
Yeah, exactly right. Someone
and
was
it'll be
just
going back
handing
in
it.
there.
Anyway, I can't be rereading it. Anyway, it was funny. Yeah, it's kind of funny and that sort of stuff. So this one is the featured. The Sterrenwereld in Notedop. I don't know exactly in Notedop. So it would be the Star World in a. I don't know what Notedop means. It probably has nota in it. Up is like up. So I don't know exactly what that means. I didn't bother looking it up. It probably means just like in one volume or like summarized or whatever. So this guy Alders, and I'm afraid he's probably dead right now. Significantly older than me. And, I'm turning 68 in less than a year. So this was published in check it out, 1949. In a week. That's the 7th of May. I think it's the 1st of May today. So I just finished this up seconds before Pauline uh, informed me that we were going to have a deck dinner, as we call these sessions outdoors on Pauline's deck. And so this has information for 1950, so it's a little bit out of date there. You know, it says when the new moons are going to be and stuff like that. But this is an awesome book. It's intended for kids, but adults could learn a huge whack from it. Incredible. Nice pictures, no photographs, but very nice illustrations. And they've got a lot of stuff. So they've got information on, for Duistering would be something like darkening, but in this case it would be eclipse. So sun darkening, moon darkening, and it shows how these things work out, you know, like
Just a little bit of geometry there. It looks
a little bit of geometry, exactly right. It has stuff on the sun's corona, and it shows how the more inclined the sun's rays fall on the Earth, the less warmth is given, or less heat is given. Stuff like that, just a little bit of geometry there. So I think it's intended for kids, maybe pre-teen or stuff like that. But I'm going, wow, it's got some good things to explain. Things like the height of the pole here gives you the geographical grid would be latitude. Yeah.
So that makes me think that this book is German, yeah?
Oh, it's Dutch.
Dutch.
Yeah, like it would be Stern in German, so it would be one syllable and only one R. And Wereld is Welt. They leave the R out.
So that makes me think that our Canadian adults are not smarter than fifth grader Dutch kids.
Yeah. European
That's
kids tend to
incredible.
be, and this includes even Russia, Ukraine, much better educated, you know, than kids over here in North America. It's staggering. You'll get a kid, I probably is relatively average over Europe. They come over here, they hit university, and people are trying to get them into their various disciplines. You know, hey, you know, like you did well on logic, you should be a philosopher. You know, stuff like that. Or you know, getting 100%. I know one kid who got 100% on a history essay, and I don't think he was that brilliant a person, really. So one of the nice things that it has the Germanic names of the various stars, like the wild swine, the wild pigs, is the seven Gestern. They have like two names. They have the Germanic names, 7 stars, that's the Pleiades, but for the ancient Germans, Germanic peoples, including the Dutch, also the English, it wasn't the 7 stars of Pleiades, means the sailing ones, it's a Greek designation. It was the wild pigs, 7 wild pigs, I guess, or 6 wild pigs. Really, they say only 6 can be seen with the naked eye. So Procyon, which is in the, it's just 1 star here. Procyon means before the dog. That'd be the great dog, but it's actually in the little dog, or Canis Minor. Sirius, the big star, is the brightest star outside of the sun in our sky, and it is the brightest in the night sky. It is it's in Canis Major. So it's called the Fackeldrager, which would mean the torch holder, or something like that. A drag can mean to hold. And a fackel is like a torch, something like that. And here, this one's fantastic. So I'll show you these pictures. This is amazing sort of stuff. So here's the 7, the wild swine, or the wild pigs. And here's the torchbearer. And this is the one that I really love. Kleine Wolfsmäuel. If I'm mispronouncing it really badly, please forgive me. I'm trying. And so that's the little wolf's. What's the word in English? Maul or something like that, which means mouth. And that's actually the Hyades, which is an asterism in the our zodiacal sign, Taurus. And I think they call it Stier. In German it would be Stier, which means bull. Stier, bull is bull in Dutch. But this is the amazing one. I mean, these things you see, Hyades, it's got Aldebaran in it, Aldebaran I should say, which means the follower. But this one's amazing. The great wolf's mouth. And it would be Andromeda, which is an actual constellation. Pegasus, another constellation. And the swan, which is their term for Cygnus, which just means swan. I think that's a Latin designation for Cygnus, swan. It's got a Y in it. Maybe it's originally Greek. But yeah, it's amazing. It's a big hunk of the sky out there. I got to see if I can find it. Here's the swan up here. It's a kind of like a cross with Deneb there. Pegasus is way over here. You got a square or sail of Pegasus, sail or the wing, and Andromeda is here. So you can see how it's stunning kind of stretch of sky. So it's a big. It's like three constellations. Whereas when we're talking about the Hyades, here's this Stier. I always want to say Stier because I learned it in German. Stier is probably roughly how the Dutch say it, very roughly. But you can see that it actually comes out to here. That's El Nath, the butting one. And I think it includes also the Everswijnen. See, they call it the Wildeswijnen, but Everswijnen is cognate with boar, the boar swine. So those would be the male pigs, wild male pigs, and that includes all of this is part of Taurus. So you can see how small this is, the Hyades, the little mouth of the wolf. But then you can see how huge, by comparison, the big. Well, it's three constellations, whereas the little mouth of the wolf is very small. So this is fascinating, stuff that I've never learned. The ancient Germanic designations, of course, the Dutch designations. Many of them are like a Wagenman is the Auriga. So we kind of Auriga, I suspect, is a Latin designation. It basically means the person who. Will it be something like a charioteer or something like that? The constellation Gemini, which means twins, they call tweelingen, which would be twins in Dutch, so on and so forth. This is an awesome book. I suspect it's gone long out of print, but holy smokes, I'd like to see. I'd like to see. It's even got a vocabulary in it. Lichtjahr, which is a light year, I should say. Sterkta, absolute Helderheit of a star, which is, or absolute Helderheit, which would be absolute brightness of a star. Helderheit can mean, I think, clear, but also more bright. So it's just got definitions of these sorts of things. Maan, it's even got a definition for the moon. Maansverduistering. So it's when the moon in the shadow of the earth ducks into Deutsch. It's kind of like that. Wordt de maan verduisterd is the moon eclipsed. It's always the full moon which is eclipsed. See blad side, so that's blade side. Blade side is a page. No, it's a leaf side. So on and so forth. Mira Sterren. So a whole bunch of, that's Pauline's, maybe your favorite star. Mira means wonder. So a whole bunch of stars have been named after Mira, because Mira it's called a veranderlijke ster, which is a variable star. So it actually changes in how bright it is. So it's got a bunch of definitions, which is just not what you'd expect for a kid's book. It's just absolutely wonderful. I think it's one of the best books on this, and I got tons of books on astronomy. I must have 24 or so. And it's close to the best for just general popular use.
Do you want to come in my
So-
closer? Oh, don't you jump. Your
Wow.
foot has been sore.
Yeah, he's kind of limping around here. But yeah, I don't know why he wanted to jump down. Maybe to beg for food.
I don't know.
This is Opie down here.
I think he was scared I was going to push him off when I took
okay.
my coat
Oh,
open. But,
that's what happened. Yeah, he's,
but I was going to put him inside
limping.
of it because
Yeah.
he was shivering.
yeah, a little bit cold. Is it cold
Yes.
out here? Yeah, it's pretty cold.
Yeah, well, he took
Supposed
his
to-
sweater off. He had his
Yeah,
sweater on, and he
he
managed
slipped
to
out
take
of
it
the
off.
sweater. I think it would be less slipping and more struggling
Yeah.
last night.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was sleeping on his big dog bed. He tends to take the biggest one.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wish that this thing were republished any number of times and translated into English. Very, very nice. Like I say, for popularization of astronomy, about the best that I've run across. Just I should show what they've got for. They've got for every month. They've got like a picture of the southern sky and the northern sky. So here's the northern sky, and here's the southern sky. And then they have an explanation of the main things to look for. So they always say, look for the W of Cassiopeia, or the double stars of the Dwellingen, which would be the twins. And then they'll point out Aldebaran, which is a nice kind of reddish orangish star. And then they'll say, look for the reddish star, that'll be Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse. And then the three stars of the belt, this is Orion here. And I don't think they ever mentioned, but they could. Regal or regal, I tend to give these Arabic words. It means leg or foot. So that's the foot of Orion. Betelgeuse actually means armpit of the central one. So it's kind of the armpit of this hourglass figure. So they've got this for every month. And then they've got a star chart for January. Unfortunately, it's for 1950. It's a long time ago. It's over 70 years ago. This book was well preserved. I'm afraid it wasn't really used that much. I used it and marked it up. I felt bad doing it, but oh yeah, here's this one is just awesome. So the star heaven, or the star sky, according to the Germans. So you can see how they've got the Milky Way here, and here's the big wolf mouth, and the Everswinen, which are the boar pigs, boar swine. And this is Woden's wagon, which is Odin's chariot or something like that. The English had the same thing, only they tend to call Woden maybe more like Wednesday was named after, right? This is the teeth of the, I don't know, Arvandel. I don't know what an Arvandel is. It might be, I have to check and see what that is. The Ogun, which would be the eyes of Thiazi. Thiazi would be a god. And so it's just awesome. It's got all sorts of info in there, stuff that I'd never run across. Well recommended. You can get hold of it secondhand. So I suppose now with the internet you could probably order up a secondhand sort of thing. It probably costs you a fortune, particularly after my seal of approval, right?
No, I don't know.
2 people more are going to be looking for it, maybe. What are you going to say?
Well, a lot of people don't want books anymore, so
No.
it's probably a good time to buy them. Because
Yeah, I don't know.
probably buy them for pretty cheap.
Yeah, one of my favorite scores was I got hold of my Assyrian dictionary, and it was put out by a horrible person called von Zoden, I should say. He was, you look at his wiki entry and it's awful. Like someone's covering up for him. They say, hey, this guy, he belonged to the Nazi party, but hey, it was okay. Like he just belonged to the, what was it? The Sturmabteilung. Oh, the SA. What were those? Stormtroopers. He was a good guy because he was a stormtrooper. He wasn't really a Nazi. What are you talking about? Oh, they might have changed it, but check it up just in case. Von Zoden, S-O-D-E-N, horrible person, and apparently when he walked into Paris, one of his competitors, big competitor, was a French guy, and von Zoden went in there and plundered the work of his competitor, eh? Yeah, fun guy. And but my copy of this book I got secondhand, and it cost a fair amount, but it actually belonged to a Japanese Assyriologist, and you can actually find him entered in, I've forgotten the name, but I found his name entered in Wikipedia, so he's something of a personality. Not well thought of by his colleagues, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like if I were an Assyriologist, they'd absolutely hate me. And that I can consider a seal of approval, actually. Because most of these guys are. Are you ready for a little German? Kleinigkeitskrämers. Pedants. So dealers in trifles or trinkets. Kleinigkeitskrämers. That's what so many Assyriologists are. The sad thing is they should declare, and they should come up with a declaration of independence from the Egyptologists, from Egyptology. And if they did, they would be the people who'd have the gold standard, because they do, the gold standard for history, all the way from Greece, for chronology of history, all the way from ancient Greece to India. And they don't realize it, and they've been, kowtowing to the Egyptologists for over a century. They've allowed the Egyptologists to set their own, the Egyptologists' own chronology, and for archaeology in Mesopotamia and places further east, all the way to India, they've allowed the Egyptologists to set come up with, they think, is golden standard. It ain't a golden standard. It's a tarnished in standard. And the Assyriologists don't realize it. They've got the golden standard of things like the Sumerian king list, the Assyrian king list, and the Assyrian eponym list, particularly the eponym list. Once you look at it with a critical eye, and the Egyptian chronology with a critical eye, you realize that the Egyptian chronology is off by at least 400 years, just as Isaac Newton said. It's actually closer to 500 years, and that conforms with raw carbon-14, i.e. radiocarbon readings. King Tut's tomb, stuff from there, it doesn't test to 1350 BC, it tests to 900 to 850 BC. How much time left?
15 seconds.
15 seconds. Tune in next time. I might tell you what that stuff is based on.